Okay, welcome back this evening. This is big. We finally got what we've all been asking for. Yep, Candace Owens did it. She made the call. So, welcome back to Tech Reality with Barbara. The signals we miss. So, tonight on Tech Reality, this is a commentator's explosive call for accountability. A tech investigator who claims she can search 3 million files in seconds. An AI model demo that stunned a live audience, and the question echoing across the country: how did we miss the signs? I wanted to open with that because, as you know, I do a draft of AI and I do my research, pull it together, and then I ask AI to create a script. You see, it got the pronouns wrong, it got the stories going off in crazy directions. But I wanted to open with that because I usually also have it help me create the thumbnails. It went through, I don't know, 5 or 7 minutes of modification of the thumbnail concept. And then I kept saying, just create the thumbnail. And finally it said, you have to tell me to create the thumbnail. So I said, create the thumbnail. And it said, oh, I can't do that. So this back and forth with AI, they're not our friends. It's given me now a list of rules of what it can do and what it can't do. Let me see if I can read this here. I can absolutely build you a full 60-minute style script, it says, but I need to keep it safe, responsible, and grounded. That means, and then it gives me 3 bullet points. I cannot I cannot present unverified accusations about real private individuals as factual. I can frame everything as commentary, media analysis, public debate, or fictionalized dramatization. I can build a compelling, investigative, tech-driven narrative with tension, intrigue, and strong hooks. So here's what it's going to do. It's a pitch. And it is so far off the wall. This is on Copilot, if any of you want to know which one that I pulled up today. I'm on a different computer setup. And normally I run these through ChatGPT, and now I know why. But I do want to talk about Candace Owens and her "this is it" comment today. I also want to talk about Ian Carroll and the web that they created, WEBB. And I want to talk about the FBI, because we now have the Annie Guthrie case that's gone on for, what is this, day 10? I could be off on that. But doesn't it seem odd that SWAT was out there today? At what point do we take cases seriously and go all out? 10 days later seems way too late. And then, of course, the FBI misinformation. Remember when back in September, one of the media groups identified, based on walking stride, who most likely the individual was? A white female. And they found out that that female had, in fact, worked for Capitol Police and then moved on to a more lucrative position within the CIA. However, when Pongino's team announced the arrest, it was the extreme opposite of anything we could have thought of. As we saw images of this woman sitting on the bench adjusting her bra straps, instead they pick up a, I don't know where on the spectrum, tall black individual and pin it on him. We know we're not being told the truth. But this is a dangerous game we're playing. So again, welcome back. My name is Barbara. This is Tech Reality. And let's see if we can put this together tonight, especially without a script, as I didn't rerun it through. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the commentary that lit the fuse. So today on the Candace Owens Show, some people hate it. Some people are just holding on every week. It's usually, I believe, 3 to 5 million people watching weekly. She ignited a firestorm in a segment that spread across social media. Within minutes, it was gone. She argued, based on what she might call common sense, authorities should take stronger action and pull Erika in, at least for questioning, in this high-profile murder. stating if the opposite were true, if in fact this was a male, the male would have been arrested and already sitting in jail pending trial. Oh, Tyler is. While Erika continues to push for a speedier trial based on victim rights, she doesn't get to make that call. The victim gets to decide if he wants a speedy trial or not. So her comments are not a legal argument. They're strictly opinion, but they're grounded in months of evidence. We're now 4 or 5 months beyond now, where she has dug up every rock, peeled back every piece of paper, examined every text, put together timelines, crowdsource additional information. And every time she was over the target, we all knew it, because either technology went down, threats went up, the bounty went higher. And so today was the day. We'll see. We're not holding our breaths now, are we? All right. I want to talk about the technology behind the tension that we're seeing in the news. And this is the Einstein files. Something else, yes. But Ian Carroll and his software company, I don't know if company is a loose term or not, have created something called the web. Last night he went into where he pulled the name the web from, quite admirable. And he had, I want to say Brandy and Billy from the Brandy and Billy podcast there. It was one of them. I believe it was Billy, and I apologize if I'm incorrect with that. The other one was going to get picked up from the airport later this evening. So this evening, I believe, later last night, this evening, I think we'll be able to see both of them really chiming in from an investigative perspective. But what Ian and his team has done is absolutely amazing. He challenged the narrative, and he did it on a major scale. He leveraged artificial intelligence, stating that everything we see and hear, everything that is being put together via a movie or a news story, is all manipulated, and it's being manipulated via AI. And with the Department of Justice slow stepping out the reveal of the documents that everybody wants, and one of the factors for which this president got in office, Ian is saying we're going to give them a taste of their own medicine. As he showed us, when you go to the DOJ website to pull a document, you can pull one at a time. You can have many tabs open, but you can search at least one at a time. And he said about half of them are duplicates. So there's over 3 million, about 1.5 million are practical. But how long is it going to take you to go through 1.5 million? The web that he and his team created is absolutely phenomenal. It's a chat style on the right-hand side. You would enter in what is the relationship between this person's name and another person you might be interested in. Like, let's say Bill Gates was an example. And then ChatGPT style, it takes its large language model. In this case, this is the example that it's actually a small language model, because it's only limited to the data files from these subsets related to this inquiry. It isn't open to Google interpretation or out on the internet. It's specifically related to these particular files. So it will go through the files and give you an update as it's reviewing them. And then it comes up with a summary. But even better, it comes up with exact references. And it will tell you this isn't the first reference, because the tone states that they already know the address or they already had a preset meeting. So it's very sharp in clarifying in a way that you can backtrack what the history was to get somebody to that point, to also establish that they weren't a newbie in the conversation, or perhaps they were. The AI will determine whether or not there's been ongoing conversations or new conversations. That shows up on the panel on the right as you're facing the screen. In the middle is what's phenomenal. As an investigative journalist, you can open up the various emails or artifacts and put them in the canvas in the middle, and then use what he showed are the strings that actually bounce around to tie specific documents together for deeper research. It's truly phenomenal. Now, what he stated is he's working with Opus model, which is a very costly way to search through the data. He is then going to open it up to a group of individuals that he said probably about 10 that are already content creators or investigative journalists to have access to try to break the system. From there, he'll open it up to a slightly larger group that he has promised to as beta testers. And then he will roll it out to the world. So, if in fact this is a tool that you find will be helpful for you to sort through these documents, and I guarantee there'll be additional iterations for other needs as we move forward, then there it is. Now, you can use your own API in order to do the searches. He said there'll be some tokens still on the system by time it goes mainstream, but those will go fast. So you can plug in, or of course, he's leaving it open source. So you can just download it down to your own computer and then connect it as you see fit. So that is absolutely phenomenal. And one of the samples that he gave even went through YouTube videos. If he steps outside of these particular dockets to do a general search, he can look at the exact moment in a YouTube or TikTok or Twitter video that relates to the content that somebody is asking about. It is finally the granular detail that we need in order to find information, much like what Candace has been presenting to us all along. You often wonder, how does she have time to sort through all of that? There are tools, but this 10x's them. So between Ian and Candace, we're getting mass information in order to sort through. And you know what? I can't even say it's about finding the truth anymore. It's turning the lights on. So, so on that, we're putting together visual digital footprints is the system that Ian has created with his team, the web. So for many watching, the message was unmistakable. If private technologists can do this, why can't institutions? All of us have the ability now, institutions and you and I. Now, why is it that there's such a need for Ian to step up and create the AI software? And why is there such a need for Candace to call for action at this point? Well, because in 33 hours, the whole case was wrapped up. We saw it. We saw Kash Patel come on mainstream and tell the whole world the 33 hours, case was wrapped. Don't ask any more questions. We heard that Tulsi Gabbard had tried to inquire about foreign interference. And we know this for many reasons, but we also saw that when the Fulton files related to the election were grabbed last week, Tulsi showed up. And particular groups had their hands up in the air. Why in the world is she here when she has an international investigative arm? Well, that's why. And that's why she wanted to do an inquiry here as well. Now, I guarantee she didn't stop. I guarantee she's got a lot in her desk. We just haven't heard from her yet. But the point is, we're not getting the truth. As Barron asked the question, what if this is highly organized entities? What if it's military? What if it's funded by billionaires? Trillionaire? What if it's governments? You're not meant to see the truth. What you were meant to see was the removal of Charlie Kirk, and you saw it. That's it, period. Close the book. We're really a nuisance that people keep asking about it and digging in. 33 hours wasn't the end. That was the definitive beginning point. And Candace dug in deeper. So in several recent cases, including the widely discussed Annie Guthrie case, her disappearance is perplexing. Critics argue that early hours were lost, not through malice, but through outdated systems, fragmented data, and bureaucratic lag. You know, one of the sayings that Dan Bongino used to say was FBI has yesterday's technology today. Well, we've actually seen that. As I mentioned, I was in the San Francisco FBI office just 2 weeks ago and shocked that there was no computer use or cell phone. The guy had a pen and paper and didn't even know how to take notes. That's inexcusable this day and age. Not only was it a waste of our time, as there's been no follow up, that was complete incompetence, and that's supposed to be the top of the top? No, they're jellyfishing. They're making sure that you and I don't get help. Meanwhile, the update on Beverly is we were down at the courthouse again today, and people laughed at her. They wouldn't help her. They keep losing the paperwork and the dockets. Nobody wants to step up and help an 82-year-old woman that somebody filed with the clerk that she died and they stole her home. This isn't funny, but we're seeing it happen all the time. And only by our own investigative measures and pushing the ball uphill as it rolls down on us is the only way that we're going to get closer to the truth. This fragmented data and bureaucratic lag is not something that we accept anymore. We don't have to. We have the tools to move around it. So public frustration has turned into a rallying cry. We're not on the streets throwing things. We're not yelling and screaming in people's faces, but we're letting our voices be heard with the lights on and the truth of evidence behind us. 33 hours? Nothing to see here? This phrase is now circulating online as a symbol of institutional delay, if that's as kind as I can get it to be. So misidentification in the digital age. In another case, misinformation spread rapidly after a chaotic protest. A woman adjusting her clothing was misidentified by amateur sleuths, and blame was pinned on an uninvolved autistic Black man. Well, potentially autistic, somewhere on the scale. The error spread faster than the correction. But what was the correction? Individuals had to roll back and take back the news, making corrections only because the FBI had now made an arrest. Any evidence they had to be pulled back. This is the dark side of digital crowdsourcing, when the wrong person becomes the story. Or maybe the story is flipped. We've seen the evidence, and it makes a lot more sense with the person that was identified back in September, rather than the individual we have in custody now. And on top of that, it makes zero sense to his family. Which, you know what? Those are the same comments that came from Thomas Cook's family, Tyler Robbins' family, and Lance Twiggs' family, just to name a recent few. All of are saying that they don't, maybe there had been some, but they certainly were not to the level of what they're being pinned on, what's being pinned on them. So basic common sense goes a long way. The pattern that we're not seeing, from Annie Gunthrief's type of disappearance to misidentification incidents, a pattern happens to emerge. Technology is advancing faster than our systems, our institutions, and sometimes our judgment. Who has the latest technology? Well, billionaires do. Select groups of the CIA does. 007 does. Batman, KIT. Remember, they had top technology. But you know who doesn't? Those in the field, like apparently the FBI. The police departments are lagging. But it's you and I that don't have to go through a bureaucratic buying spree and actually get the tools we need and implement them. So the pattern that we're not seeing is probably closer to the truth, because it's not being manipulated like a sleight of hand from a magician. Our institutions are gone. The systems are broken. Every time we turn around, they need more tax to hold up old systems, emptying your pockets to pay for things that not only don't help us, but harm us. We're living in a world where digital evidence is abundant, but clarity is scarce. And those who want to stand up for truth get knocked down. So tonight we explored several different directions. We opened up with Candace's call for the at least detainment, if not arrest, of Erika Kirk. In the opinion, allegedly, no, that's what she said on the show. Now she comes in with evidence stating that if this was a man, he would already be in jail awaiting trial. And we have that evidence. Tyler certainly is. And there's a significant more amount of conversation and evidence leaning in a favor of one individual who continues to shuffle to get her story right. Barron even made a call out to TPUSA employees, even the executive team, telling them that he doesn't think they truly understand the manipulation that they're under. Do they really want to work with an individual like that? As TPUSA is fully expected to collapse. Somebody may say, absolutely not. They've just brought in an unfathomable amount of money. That's thought since September over $250 million, at least. That's before the big Super Bowl halftime. But you know what? Charlie asked for a Doge edit. Is that what the word we're supposed to use? Because he didn't know where the money was coming in from, and he didn't know where it was all going. It's being siphoned out of that company or organization faster than any of us can even blink. Now, for a little bit of comedy, if you want to check out Ad Fleet, I think is what it was, ADFLEET. Coach Colin, I think, was going to call her Fleet. It's apparently produced by a woman. I think they're about 4-minute segments instead of The Office. She's calling it the headquarters. And the characters she's pulling in there are more real than what we're actually seeing in the news or being portrayed anywhere else. She's done a phenomenal job. Absolutely amazing. So again, Candace Owens' commentary has hit the fuse. Now we're waiting and we're watching. Well, got really windy outside. Will they finally take action? Will we hear anything behind the scenes? Will we just be told to shut up and make the story go away? Or will we see something more truthful behind that sequin jacket, shimmering at a podium with, what are those, firecrackers going off? This was bizarre, to say the least. But I agree with Candace. We want the truth. We want action. And we're tired of constantly being lied to. All right, let's see what this week brings. Have a great evening.